It was storming on the little railway one evening. The engines were in the sheds with the doors closed, so no wind or rain could enter. What a dreadful evening. One of the worst storms I've seen in a while.
Agreed. We'll have a lot of work to do tomorrow clearing the main line and such from tree falling.
What a lot of work that'll be. Oh well, let's take our minds off tomorrow's work. I'll tell you both a story. It's nights like these that remind me of one. Fowler was eager to hear the story, and even Robert took notice and decided to listen. This is a story my fireman told me many years ago, and this was the story Dan told. A long time ago on a small railway just like ours there lived a big engine named Clyde. He pulled their local express and pulled the local goods trains. He was the only engine, and he did all the work, but he didn't mind. Clyde was a very happy engine who loved pulling the express and seeing all the smiling faces aboard the train he pulled. He would never trade it away for anything in the world. But one day there were less passengers than normal. Then the next day there were less. Then the next, none at all. Cars were taking over the railway and were much more reliable than a steam engine. This made Clyde feel betrayed by his passengers. Something inside Clyde then dropped. He began to feel anger towards his passengers for leaving him for automobiles. He sought revenge. One evening, there was a sale for train tickets. They were half off. This drew quite the crowd for train enthusiasts and ongoers alike. The reason for the sale was that the express trip was closing for good. With the lack of passengers from before, this would be their last hurrah.
Well, old boy, this is our final run. Let's make it good, shall we?
Whatever. It didn't matter for Clyde about this being his last ride for the express. He had a plan. A horrendous plan. And Clyde began his journey. Along his ride on the main line, it began to rain. Clyde's plan was coming together. As Clyde was beginning to chuff towards a sharp bend, his driver warned him.
All right, old boy. There's a sharp curve coming up. Better slow down early because this rain makes the tracks slippery.
But Clyde didn't listen and decided to speed up.
Come on, old boy, we gotta slow down. Clyde, I said slow down. Clyde!
Clyde kept going faster and faster until it was too late. With a stomach-churning screech, Clyde reached the corner and deliberately flung himself off the rails. There was an ear-splitting sound of scraping metal, and all the cars with all the passengers began to follow Clyde over the edge. For a few seconds, he began dropping towards the valley floor, but in just a moment, Clyde and his train jammed into a rocky outcrop on the hillside, halting their fall. Shaken and bruised, his driver and firemen and all the passengers from the express quickly scrambled to safety as Clyde teetered off the edge of the rocks. The last of the passengers leapt off the train just in time as the rocks finally cracked and crumbled under the weight, and Clyde began to tumble down the hill, taking the empty express coach with him. His body was mangled and ruined. Not only was he ruined, but so was his plan. He sought vengeance on the passengers and failed. When repairmen came to visit Clyde, they inspected him and decided he was so mangled he couldn't be fixed. And worst of all, he wasn't answering anyone's questions or talking at all. They presumed him dead after initial impact and sent his body away far away to be scrapped, never to be seen again. Nights like these, Dan continued, remind me of the tragic tale of Clyde, the engine that came before. Fowler and Robert were speechless at Dan's surprisingly scary tale. And if you go to the railway he once was at, you might hear his whistle echo through the valley, screeching, waiting for Clyde's plan to succeed. And that's my story. Hopefully that passed the time for you too. It's getting late now. Best that we go to sleep. Then Dan drifted off to sleep, leaving Robert and Fowler wide awake. Good thing that didn't happen on this railway.
Agreed. That was the scariest story I ever heard.
And they both closed their eyes, trying to fall asleep.